Yo, hello again, it's Master Fisher here, and today we are talking about the most important things in league racing. There are a few things that I see other drivers do over and over again that they don't do as well. That's why I want to talk about them today. For myself, about half a year ago, something clicked in my head, and from then on I won a lot of races, and in one league I still have an active streak of 12 podiums in a row. First of all, it's about racecraft and risk versus reward assessment. It is extremely important to think ahead. And one example is from my last league race in Imola. I started on pole, I was leading the race, and when the safety car came out on lap 3, I and only a few other drivers pitted, so there were many slower drivers with worse tires ahead of me. And instead of diving straight into every little gap, I stayed relaxed, because I know that I'm faster than the drivers in front of me and that sooner or later I will overtake them. Besides, it's too early in the race to risk too much. It's just not worth it risking so much when there's still 80% of the race to go. Therefore, I can only advise to wait for a good chance instead of having a collision or retiring too early into the race. Also, another tip from me is don't use too much of your ERS, because for example in Imola it's really difficult to regain ERS. Just wait and do it on the safe way to getting through the traffic. It's something different when you're fighting for the win or the last lap. Then you can risk a bit more, but not so early into the race. Like this situation, I'm behind Eternity, who hasn't pitted yet, and I could have gone past him at lap 14 if I have used my ERS, but I didn't. So I waited for another lap, saved my ERS, and then the lap later I passed him with the help of DRS, but without using any of my energy. And I'm pretty sure that he used a lot of his energy, at least at the first try. So you can also play a bit around with your enemies on the track. The next point I want to talk about is consistency. It's extremely important to be consistent in terms of times on track, but also in terms of error proneness. Because, for example, if you're about 2 seconds ahead of the driver behind, you can't let him get into your DRS window. But if you are inconsistent, let's say with a second between your fastest and your slowest time in the stint, it is relatively easy to get into your DRS. But if you stay within 2 to 4 tenths all the time of the stint, it's very difficult for the driver behind. And for that, I also have a very good example from my last league race in Imola. It's the last stint. We had a safety car about 20 laps before the end. As you can see, right after the safety car restart, I did my fastest lap of the race because I wanted the driver behind me comfortably out of my DRS window, and I used a bit more of my ERS. In laps 42 and 43 I did exactly the same lap time, and 2 laps after that I also stayed within a 10, which is extremely consistent and good. In lap 47 I had a small mistake in the last sector, so the lap dropped a bit out, but after that I did 15 laps within 2 to 4 tenths of a second. That is very important in league racing. And that brings me to the last point of this video. Be focused and don't get distracted. If you are focused and on task, you shouldn't make mistakes. I know from some drivers that they are in a party together and they really talk a lot also about other things and commentating their own race, but that's not very good, because as soon as you get distracted, mistakes happen. But if it's happened, don't get too upset and focus again. Don't hate on anything, the game, other players or whatever, just focus. I've seen this many times. I used to get upset too, but then I realized it was no use, and since I stopped doing it, I'm much better on road. And that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Write in the comments down below if you want another episode about some tips and tricks about league racing. Write it down in the comments below, and I see you soon.